Thank you and good morning. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. As you will know, Mr. Speaker, the government takes the issue of accessibility extremely seriously, and with the assistance of wider research, has identified specific accessibility barriers that are faced by drivers of electric vehicles in using public charge points, and those can include height of charge points, charging cables which are very heavy, connectors and street design. To address those, the government, with Motability, co-sponsored publicly available standard 1899 in October 2022, and this provides for the first time specifications on designing and installing accessible public charge points.
I think it's grouped as well, is it, Minister?
Yes, it is. So kind to remind me, I'm going to take, if I may, with your support, question number 5 as well. Thank you.
Stephen Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For those with off-street parking, the majority of their EV charging needs are easily met at home. However, those without off-street parking are rightly concerned about access to charging. Can my right honourable friend therefore tell the House how the government will address this to ensure those in Basildon and Thurrock have equitable access?
Well, I thank my friend very much for the question. He'll be aware that Essex County Council have been able to use the AUX scheme, and there has also been support in his area for workplace charging and for the home charge scheme. But of course, we want to go much further than that, and the new local EV infrastructure fund will support local authorities in doing just that. There is a £10 million Levi pilot, as it's called, in operation at the moment, which will deliver over 1,000 charge points, and we will use that as a springboard for further expansion of the fund.
Andrew Slipper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Councillor Steve Dixon, the portfolio holder at Central Bedfordshire Council, is like me a big enthusiast for electric vehicles, but he did tell me earlier in the week that there are some issues with connectivity to the grid, particularly for the 50 kilowatt superfast 20-minute chargers, which can be particularly important, Mr. Speaker, for tradespeople and delivery drivers who need a quick charge up during the day. So what conversations is he having with National Grid to make sure that they don't hold us back in this vitally important area?
Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend. We take this issue extremely seriously. He'll be aware that responsibility lies with the electricity network operators. Ofgem has allowed baseline funding of over £22 billion, including over £3 billion proposed for network upgrades. But of course, we need to make sure that that money is put in place and that any blockages are addressed by the DNOs. And of course, we're also, as well as doing that, working closely with fleets and industry bodies to try to make sure that we can anticipate problems before they arise.
Yeah.
Clive Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know whether the Minister's gone on a long journey in an electric car. You can often travel dozens, perhaps over 100 miles, without finding a rapid charger. Exactly. When you get to a rapid charger, the name is a misnomer because the National Grid can't deliver the amount of power necessary. Even if you get to one that's working, it's often full because of the number of electric cars now on the road, and you end up with a queue of half an hour or more to wait. So when is the government going to develop a proper national network? So what should be a pleasant day out for motorists doesn't become hours of planning in advance, then hours of frustration and delay on the journey?
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. He'll be aware that there were very specific problems over Christmas, and of course we've recognised that, and those had to do with the adverse weather conditions as well as particular concerns of the season. But there is a wider problem, and he's right to mention it, and that's why we'll be promoting regulations in due course which require 99% reliability and other standards as well as transparency across charge points in order to address some of the points he raised.
Jim Shah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister for that answer? In Northern Ireland, there are 4,000 electric vehicles and 337 charging points. Government here centrally has assisted, funded in the past charging points. People are unable and unwilling to buy electric cars if they haven't got charging points. So can I ask the Minister this question? What discussions has the Minister had with the Department of Infrastructure back home at the Northern Ireland Assembly to ensure that the charging points are increased in numbers across the whole of Northern Ireland? Thank you.
Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful to him for raising the question, in particular in relation to Northern. I have not myself recently spoken to the Infrastructure Board in Northern Ireland, but I'll make a point of doing so in the near future.
We now come to Shadow Minister Jill Furness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, I and colleagues hosted leading figures from across the car industry. They are desperate for the UK to lead the world in electric vehicles. but are banging their heads against the wall at the state of the charging infrastructure. In 2019, there were 33 electric vehicles per rapid charger. Today, there are almost 90 vehicles per charger. So, given how critical the charging network is to confidence in the EV market, why on earth are there yet more delays to the botched rollout of the Rapid Charge Fund? And will he consider binding targets to speed up the rollout?
Minister.
Well, again, I thank the Honourable Lady very much. Of course, the numbers she's given are very much the result of the extremely fast expansion in the number of battery electric vehicles that we now have in this country, and that's a very, very welcome thing, very much supported by government policy. We've supported, as a government, over 400,000 chargers to homes and businesses in the last few years, and we take this issue, as I've said, very seriously. What are we doing? We have this Levi fund that I've described. We have the Rapid Charging Fund, which I am seeking to accelerate, and I recognise the point that she raises. It's absolutely right that we should continue to go in tandem with the growth in the sector, all the more so because our new zero-emission vehicle mandate this year will continue to propel this number upwards rapidly in a way that I think will be very much to the public benefit.
So longer.
Number 3, please, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, irresponsible